Showtime! The Capital G show starts right now.
What's up YouTube, Capital G here. So I'm talking about power creep in this video and talking about ways that we can lessen it and ways that we can kind of deal with it. This is going to be one of those videos where half of you guys are going to hate me at the end because, you know, at times I have very extreme views. Now, the person that I've actually got a lot of this insight from was Inch95. I watched a video where he was talking about snatch steal, and though I don't agree with his overall assessment and argument, I liked a lot of his points that he made. All right, so first off, power creep is a necessary evil in Yu-Gi-Oh! If you look at the game, especially from a competitive standpoint, Konami essentially has to keep outdoing themselves with new mechanics to keep the game interesting. With new mechanics generally means power creep. You can look at it as the most fundamental level. You know, synchros were better than fusions, XCs were better than synchros, and pendulums are better than XCs because why summon one monster when I can summon fucking 5? You know what I mean? Just on the basic level, you can look at that and say, okay, well, if they're building archetypes around those basic mechanics, then the archetypes are going to get stronger. Now, again, it's needed to keep things interesting because when they release new product, for the most part, all the competitive players look at the competitive archetypes. I mean, I don't know anybody who was buying up boxes of Duelist Alliance like, oh my god, let me pick up that fluffle shit. Like, yeah, there may be one out of every 30 players at your locals who does that, but everybody wanted Shadows, everybody wanted S-Knights and, you know, Yangzing and shit like that. They want the new powerful archetype. Now, it should be noted that with Duelist Alliance, I've been playing this game since Magic Ruler. I cannot remember ever a time that one set power creep the game so fucking hard on that level. I guess maybe comparable would be Phantom Darkness, but that's it. Not even Invasion of Chaos, because Invasion of Chaos just introduced like 3 or 4 just ridiculously retarded monsters, but they weren't the entire deck. With what Duelist Alliance did, I mean, they made archetypes where literally nothing misses timing and monster destruction just became horrible in Yu-Gi-Oh! And that is just something that it completely changed the game. Now, what I think Konami has done a poor job on, and I think this is one of the reasons why people feel like the game gets too stagnant. You know, all you can play is the new archetypes or just get shit on, because we know that this is an archetype-based game. If you look at the last 5 years of Yu-Gi-Oh! Since, let's say, 2000, we can even go to like 2009, you know, how many decks have really dominated, got to like really good tier 1 status that weren't really archetype based? I'm talking decks that did it over a consistent amount of time. I would say Dino Rabbit, Teledad, Synchro Cat, and Hat. That's pretty much it. Those were decks where we, the players, kind of took a whole bunch of random shit and made it work as a combo based decks. They weren't Shadows or, you know, Burning Abyss or Insectors, Windups, a deck where literally you can just buy a structure deck if Konami made it and you just get all that shit. So archetypes pretty much dominate things. But let's say you're just devoted to Black Wings. Okay, the last time I topped, or the first regional I ever topped with Black Wings, well, it was my first top. It was November 2009, and Gale was limited, so we weren't even at full strength then. Black Wings are just getting back to full strength now. It's 2015, and even the most reasonable duelists out there would say, can you say that if Black Wings were at full strength and, I don't know, early 2014, like, oh, you know, would you have played them? Like, probably not. The game had so far past them. So why did it take this long? Why did it take almost 5 years to get them back at full strength? Now, obviously in early 2010-ish, you know, you could say, well, they were too broken then, they deserved the hits. But once it's been pretty much established that the deck isn't going to do anything and that it's been power creeped, Konami needs to basically start putting these decks back at full strength like immediately. Not just do it in pieces like they did with Lightsworn and Black Wings, because what happens is those decks become irrelevant for like full years. I'm talking like, you know, 1 or 2 years, and players who really love those decks just miss out on them. You know, if Prophecy right now had 3 fades, what would be the harm in that? I mean, if you play Prophecy right now, if you go first and somebody summons Dinka, just scoop, you're gonna get ravaged, and all you have is a blue boy on board. If you go against Burning Abyss and they open Dante, plus a good trap, just scoop, you're gonna get ravaged. You know what I mean? Like, you don't even have the tool. You don't have the tools to fight back. So maybe that third fate actually gives you a feasible chance of competing in Yu-Gi-Oh! And I know with some of these examples, you guys would be like, no, Capital G, that would be so broken. Is it any worse than what you have now? And I'm not saying that because you may think that the post Duelist Alliance decks are broken, that they shouldn't be hit. What I'm saying is, if you add, if you add older decks that aren't nearly as powerful as our newer decks back into the game at full strength, it only gives us more variety. It doesn't make the game worse, in my opinion. If Zen Mighty was at 3, I don't really see what the harm is. Windups have been so goddamn power creep, they're not doing anything. I'm not talking about bringing back the shock lock shit. I'm talking about a lot of these cards that are at 1 and 2 that are just archetype specific. Legendary 6 Samurai Sheen. Why is this card at 1? Samurais can't do anything. I mean, honestly, if it was me, I'd probably put like Gateway and Sheen. Like, I would put Sheen at like 3 and Gateway at 2. But even those games where you get ravaged by the older decks who just draw the nuts hands, again, it's not worse than what happens now. I think that Konami, the TCG version, the way that they put these decks back at full strength and they take such an extended amount of time, it not only causes disinterest in the game, but it just hurts those people who are devoted to those decks. I'll give you an example. Let's say you were a Blackwing fan, and during the +1 Fire Fist Mermail format, Blackwings were exactly as they are not right now. You had 3 Whirlwind, you had 3 Kalutes, and you had 3 Gale. Wouldn't it have been a little more interesting if you could have played Blackwings at full strength during that format? Like, I could have actually seen them being pretty good, mainly because of Icarus attacking. Destruction was actually still good in the game back then. I mean, it just would have made things more interesting. And I look at that I look at that idea and I'm just like, why can't we apply it to Yu-Gi-Oh! Now? Mermail are really, they're really good now, but it's not like any Mermail topped ARG Orlando. So if we put Dragoons at 3, what's really the harm? We may get a competitive deck. And if it turns out that, giving 6 Samurai, 3 Gateway, 3 Sheen is a problem, then, you just fucking limit or ban one of the cards and you just basically keep it moving. You use the ban list as it was intended. You basically get rid of a problem card. That's just my 2 cents. The main point is, a lot of these older decks can't compete because the new decks they're giving utilities that the older decks just don't have. Like being immune to destruction and never missing timing and having new mechanics like pendulums that the older decks can't do. And I think that if the older decks, if they're at least at full strength, it makes things a little more interesting. Unless it is something that is just God broken, like a Spellbook of Judgment that should never come back, I don't really see what the harm is. That's the only way I see of actually at least somewhat suppressing power creep, is you have to allow these old decks to come back at full strength, and you can't do it in a time period of fucking 5 years, because at that point, what's the point of bringing Blackwings back now? I mean, they're so fucking irrelevant. So let me know what you guys think. Is my idea just crazy? Do you think it would be a good idea? Leave that in the comment section below. Thank you for watching, as always. Subscribing makes life happy.